Hello and welcome back to Lille Regional Championships. My name is Gilbert and I'm joined once again by the lovely Benji Hutchings. How you doing, Benji? Nice break?
Yeah, lovely once again, of course. I took some time. As I said, one of my good friends is in day 2 today, so just went to go check up on how they're doing. Unfortunately, 1 win, 2 losses so far, but they're hoping to try and seal up top 16 with another 2 wins.
Well, that's the other thing. Yes, everyone's aiming for top 8 because top 8 is where you start to, where you actually cut and get to play the knockout rounds. But there's still increased points and prizing for top 16, top 32, and you get points for top 64. So these championship points do escalate. So sure, you can have a bad run, and I'm sorry to your friend, but if they cut at 6-2-1 and they started 1-2, they are not making top 8. That is, I'm afraid that's already out of contention. However, that does mean that they can get, points of different levels. But it does seem like the players are actually ready. So we're going to be going to a new game very, very shortly indeed, which makes me very happy. I think you've got the scoop on who's playing, haven't you?
Yes, I do. I am just getting up now. We have Lucas Araujo from Brazil, all the way over here. I believe lives in France, however, so slightly local, not all the way over from Brazil. And of course, we have Martin Desombre with another Kyurem VMAX deck, and of course, Lucas playing Giratina V-Star once again.
Kyurem is everywhere. It's all over the place at the moment. That Kyurem is really good. VMAX is in a weird situation. VMAX has kind of went away for a few months, and then they came back, but there's this slow trickle. It's kind of like 1 in every set nowadays. And Kyurem's just like, look, I know VMAXs are kind of done, but I'm actually really good. And it is, it's kind of like, it might be the last great VMAX, the last one that comes out and really makes this big impact on the metagame. Though we're not done yet, so you never know, but it is one, came out in Lost Origin, and it's like we've been talking about a lot this weekend. With some sets come in and they make a big difference, some sets kind of come in with a little bit of a whimper, and Lost Origin between Giratina, that whole Lost Zone engine, Kyurem, Gudra, Lost Origin has been one of those sets that has really transformed the metagame, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I think that obviously over this weekend we have at least seen Lost Origins cards in every deck, 1 or 2 of them all the time, and I think that Martin obviously utilising that Kyurem VMAX, huge damage potential, but of course paired with that amazing Palkia that we've had running around for months now. And Lucas picking to go full Lost Origins here, a deck that almost every card was utilized from the new set. Colrus, Comfey, Giratina, and the V-Star. Both decks here pose big damage hitters. We've seen this match a couple of times over the weekend. It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one, and the Radiant is Radiant Greninja for Lucas. Of course, one thing we've seen not often but occasionally is players playing that Radiant Hawlucha so that you can go with a Choice Belt and a Radiant Hawlucha and try and actually get a one-hit KO on that Kyurem. It's a lot to ask, but it's why Radiant Hawlucha's there. It's got an ability that lets you do 30 more to VMAX Pokemon. It's really actually quite good against Kyurem, but then you've got to balance that against having Radiant Greninja, which helps in all the rest of your matchups. Either way, it's a moot point. It is Radiant Greninja, and looking at Lucas's prize here, it's fine.
It's fine, yeah, again, we're seeing one of those 6 prize cards. We've got a bit of balance in there, right? You've got a couple of energy, you've got a couple of different trainer cards, but ones that you can utilize at certain points in the game. Obviously, the Mirage Gate being towards the top, it's probably going to be at that point in the game. Lucas might be looking for a few more energy to get off another Lost Impact attack, but maybe that escape rope. He loves to have those switch outs for his Comfeys, flower selecting as much as possible early game, and getting 10 cards in the Lost Zone to be able to have access to all of those funky cards.
Yeah, for newer players who are wondering what we're doing, we're looking at the prize cards. The rule is generally simple. We're looking for multiples, one-offs, and key cards. So anything where there's only one, anything where there's multiple, and one in the deck, anything where there's multiples in the prizes, or anything that's really key to the matchup. And I mean, neither player's been really disadvantaged here. If we see, in the previous game we saw 2 Kyurem out of 3 prize, that's when you start to worry. Bad news for Lucas, that Zigzagoon, not a great starter. Good news for Lucas, Battle VIP pass turn 1.
The perfect card to see turn 1. He's going to get to go into his deck, grab 2 more basic Pokemon, slam them straight onto his bench here, and he's going to be very keen to get off to a quick start. As we said at the start, both of these decks looking for quick and efficient knockouts, both on each other, so it's going to be first blow, usually moves ahead in this matchup.
Yeah, it's always important to try and get that going nice and early. And, I mean, Luke's deck, we've seen Arceus Giratina and we've seen Lost Zone Giratina. This is very much the Lost Zone. And that is characterized by these huge explosive turns where you've got lots of cards in the Lost Zone. You Mirage Gate, sometimes double Mirage Gate, and just absolutely go off. This is the kind of matchup where Sableye is not going to actually make a huge difference here, I think it's fair to say. There is one in the deck, but there's nothing really on Martin's side of the field where it's going to be terribly weak to it. So this is probably one of those games where Lucas is just going to be smashing. Having said that, what do these Giratina decks love doing against Pokemon that are out of range? Dropping damage counters with Sableye to bring them into range, very much like we saw Fabian do with Radiant Greninja in the last game.
Yeah, it's definitely a viable strategy here as well. That Zigzagoon coming back to hand, that Flower selecting that we were talking about just now, being able to look at the top 2 cards of the deck. Lost Zoning 1, putting 1 to hand, that Psychic hitting the Lost Zone, but also a Psychic Energy going to hand. So I don't think that was a choice there that he had. However, another thing to mention, the great part about this Lost Zone Giratina, Ross, that Star Requiem, V-Star, that Kyurem, if it goes down, it's 3 whole prizes, and Giratina doesn't even have to put damage counters on it. It's just gone.
Yeah, it's all gone. It's why we see people playing stuff like Big Parasol. It's why we saw Espeon V Max in a previous game to try and protect against exactly that happening. But I don't think that Martin's playing any kind of protection here. It makes Kyurem really, really vulnerable to a Giratina, to a Star Requiem. And then you've got the potential for dropping damage counters with Sableye, and that's essentially where Lucas is going here. It's going to be bringing things into range or just going for the straight one-hit KO. You've got 2 different ways to deal with those Kyurem, and that's quite nice, honestly. I mean, an Espeon, basically, if mine had Espeon right now, that'd be great.
It would definitely be great. Lucas, he's going to be okay with his first turn there. The main part is he got that Giratina down, he got an energy attached, but he would have loved to see more Flower selecting there. Only 1 card in the Lost Zone at the end of his turn. He would have liked to see that number at maybe a 3 or a 4. And we move straight over to Martin's turn, straight off the bat with that Conceal card, trying to see those basic Pokemon to get down. Places a Kyurem on the bench, and now is searching his deck for some more Pokemon.
Yeah, that's always quite lovely. Get those Pokemon out. We've got a Kyurem on the bench. We've got a Radiant Greninja in the active. So we're probably looking for a Palkia here. Give options in terms of attackers. One of the things we found, though, Palkia is not great at hitting those big numbers. It can, but it's awkward. Now, we do see that is a Luminion coming down to grab the Irida, and that's actually quite nice. This is Martin's first turn of the game, so Battle VIP Pass could be on here if Martin wanted it.
Yeah, of course, that Luminous Sign ability, we spoke about it a bit yesterday. Obviously, not being able to play supporters on your first turn anymore, not as common as perhaps a Tapu Lele or Jirachi EX back in the day. However, it still has great utilization. Martin's hand, not exactly what he wanted in it, however, able to grab that Irida, which, as you say, grab himself a water Pokemon and an item from deck. Choosing that VIP pass, 2 more basic Pokemon come down this turn.
Yeah, and that's everything you really need here. Martin doesn't really want the Luminion on his bench, which is a little bit awkward, but you've still got the double Kyurem, you've got the Palkia, you've got the Radiant Greninja, you've got the Oranguru. So you know what? Actually, yeah, that is not too bad at all. That'll do. And of course, there is an opening for Radiant Greninja here. Not at the moment, but if Lucas benches too many of these weak Pokemon, these low HP Pokemon like Comfey, then Radiant Greninja could get a nice double prize or double KO here, double prize turn. That would be absolutely lovely. And I'm checking Lucas's deck, and there is a Pokemon he could be playing that he's not. There ain't a Manaphy in there.
There is not. You are correct. So that Greninja is free to run the party here. Martin passes over. One really important thing to note on Martin's turn before we move over to Lucas, that Wash Energy coming down on the Kyurem. We talked about Big Parasol as a way to protect, but that Wash Energy also, when attached to a water Pokemon, negates all effects of attack. So Star Requiem not able to hit that Kyurem.
And Sableye not able to drop damage counters to bring it into range. So it turns out there was an answer there. That Wash Energy is absolutely huge, and that's going to make a huge difference. Don't have the Espeon, do have the Wash Energy, and there's plenty of cards we can play to get rid of Special Energy, but I don't think that we see any of them here. So essentially, as long as that Kyurem's got the Wash Energy attached, you're in this wonderful position where Sableye's not bringing you into range, and Giratina's not getting a straight one-hit KO, which means they've got to go the old-fashioned way to hit KO. And Lucas cannot actually really play double Comfey without knowing they're giving up 2 prizes, which means that their start is going to be much slower here.
Yeah, much, much slower. And we're sort of seeing that a little bit. The chorus there drawing 5 at the start of the turn, getting rid of that VIP pass on the Comfey, but still only 4 in the lost zone. Lucas really wants to be pushing up towards 7 this turn, getting those Mirage Gates online, going into your deck and attaching 2 different types of energy to your Pokemon V any way that you like. And of course, that capture energy now going into the deck, grabbing a basic Pokemon and putting it down. Lucas looking at the Oranguru there on the top of the deck, and now it's slightly gone off screen, so a bit of a mystery now as to what he's going to grab, but it looked like the Oranguru.
That was what he was eyeing up, and that is exactly what we do see going down. I mean, there is an attack for Lucas potentially here with the Cramorant that would just be able to hit into the Greninja, but it wouldn't KO it. Doesn't do enough damage. Do you really want to be 2-hit KOing a Radiant Greninja? I don't, personally.
I most certainly would not want to be doing that. I think it is Lucas's best option here. He's only got 1 Comfey on board, so I think leaving that in the active for him not to be able to flower picking next turn. As we can see, 4 in the lost zone, just a flower picking and a Colress next turn gets him up to that magic number 7 that he wants. So Cramorant being able to put a little bit of damage down, but he knows as well that with that Cramorant, if it gets knocked out, it's not causing him too many issues.
No, it's not the end of the world there. We do see a capacious bucket coming down. There's a nice little marker there to show that the ability has been used on that Greninja, just discarding an energy, drawing a couple of extra cards, always a nice little bonus. Now we see the capacious bucket getting a little bit of energy, and this is the point where we need to start seeing an attack coming down. We need to start seeing that Kyurem evolving, bit more energy, which is not a struggle. We've seen these Kyurem decks all weekend between your Glaciated World, your Melanie, your V-Star power on the Palkia, your Star Portal. There's a lot of energy that can come down. Speaking of Melanie, here we go, supporter for the turn. But I want to see an attack coming off here. And actually, with the energy from the Melanie, I think we're basically there.
Yeah, that's right. Just a switch out needed. Another attachment for the Kyurem would be real nice. Of course, Kyurem discarding energy to do an extra 50 damage, a base of 120 on there, and obviously for every 50, you're looking towards 270 for 3 discards. And of course, with Palkia, Melanie, and attachments, you can get even higher than 270 as well.
And fun little nice thing here, that you've gone after a Cramorant, it's got 110 HP, you don't need to discard any energy. You can just deal the KO, not be giving up any energy, knowing you're not going to be KO because you protected yourself with that wash energy. It is just now a question of a switch out. But we saw Martin attaching to the other Kyurem, and yeah, that tells me there's no switch and we are just passing the turn here. That's unfortunate.
That is unfortunate. However, again, a little bonus there, just getting the second wash energy on the other Kyurem V. That does mean that he can freely evolve into 2 Kyurem VMAX, being able to use 2 Glaciated Worlds in 1 turn. That's 2 extra attachments of energy, which means those Giratinas are going to be pretty easy to get through for Martin. But now moving over to Lucas, now that Cramorant damage does not seem so bad. That 110 now being able to become a 2-shot, he's going to be able to pick up that 1 prize on the Greninja, push himself ahead a little bit, struggling to get his energy under the Giratina there, but the attachment definitely what he wants. And that Giratina almost ready to go. Now, I think that Lucas's next zone of play that he wants to get to is getting to that nice number 7 in the lost zone.
Yeah, that's always a huge deal. Turning on that Mirage Gate, getting your energy acceleration rolling, that's always good. You said yourself, we just need 1 Comfey, 1 Flower Selecting, and then you've got your Colress's Experiment, and that's going to put 3 in the Lost Zone, and you're going to be good. It is awkward when you're kind of forced to limit your Comfey. Oh, here we go. Now, this is the other way to get rid of Kyurem. It's like, oh, what's that? I can't just get, oh, no. It is just an attack with Cramorant. I don't hate this. This is not too bad. I would love to have seen a KO with Giratina, but now that Kyurem is in Giratina range. No, it's not as good as putting 2 in range with a Sableye. No, it's not as good as an instant 1-hit KO. But with that wash energy taking away options, Lucas has had to pivot here and actually poke him with Cramorant. Not bad.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday about sort of buying yourself a turn, and Lucas there didn't seem like he had a good turn, but because Martin wasn't able to provide any answers, that turn sort of become null and void, which means he was able to get a 310 damage now on this Kyurem, and as he said, really nice that Giratina now able to, you know, it's still a 2-shot because it's been hit once, but 1 shot itself, that 280 damage being able to go straight through that VMAX.
Yeah, that's always a nice little bonus. We like that. So, yeah, Lucas, it's one of these situations where, not for the wash energy, Lucas would be having a lovely time here, but the wash energy has now made Martin potentially favourable in the game. It's at least made it far better for him. So now Lucas has to pivot, and no, you don't want to poke with Cramorant, but actually this might be the best route to victory. You don't want to be 2-hit KOing with Giratina and leaving them in the firing line. That's not a good idea.
Of course.
So poking, you know, to be fair, it's still 4 attacks for 6 prizes, so this might be the way to go.
Yeah, I think a really interesting play there from Martin. Excuse me, Martin on his turn. The Collapse Stadium coming down. He was able to get rid of that Luminion V we were talking about. That doesn't want to stay on the bench because that is definitely something that Giratina can get through in one hit, doing 280 damage to that, but he was able to discard that off his own bench and forcing Lucas to discard that Oranguru. We know how important that can be in this matchup for those glaciated worlds, fixing for that energy on the top of the deck, protecting those things, making sure that you're flower picking, you're getting cards that you want to see. It's really nice and effective, but unfortunately has to hit the discard at this point.
It does. It's not what you're looking for. And I'm thinking, you know, that to get rid of that Luminion is quite good, but there's still a Palkia on the field. And there is a prize map here for Lucas. It's still 4 attacks, but rather than 2-hit KOing both the Kyurem, you could just KO the Kyurem and then just go after the Palkia, and then go after a single prize Pokemon. That would mean you're relying on gusting a lot to be able to do it. There's only 2 boss's orders in Lucas's deck, and I'm not seeing... Have we got any Pal Pad? No. So I don't think that's actually going to work, unfortunately, because that would basically need more gusting than Lucas has access to.
Exactly, and we've already seen one boss as well, haven't we, to get that Kyurem the active to do 110, so that would mean only one boss less, so he has to make sure he gets maximum value out of that when he does go to use it. So a number of things happening. The chorus moving things to hand, the flower selecting. A Sableye looked like an option. Lucas considered putting it down, but did not yet. He's still looking for one more card in that Lost Zone, though, to get those Mirage Gates going.
Yeah,
and just played a Mirage Gate. There's only... Oh, no, the counter is 7. Sorry about that. The screen was not updated. 7 in the Lost Zone. So that Mirage Gate now active, going in, getting those energy, attaching them any way that you like.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm just trying to look at Lucas's routes to victory here. You could go fully reactive. You can either KO both the Kyurem, or you get Kyurem a 2-prizer and a 1-prizer, and just wait to see what Martin puts active. But actually, with one boss's orders to KO the Palkia, you can then use use Sableye to KO Oranguru, because it's got that magic 120 HP. So that would be a way for Lucas to do the 3-2-1 prize map without having to rely on a third gusting option. So that would be something Lucas could do. So Lucas has a few ways to try and win this. Martin, it's way more straightforward. I'm probably going to smash with Kyurem. Hi, I'd like to KO all your 2-prize Pokemon.
I think that is definitely a sentence the Kyurem VMAX has in mind. However, we are going to see this Kyurem V fall victim to a Lost Impact. 280 damage, discard 2 energy off your board in order to pay for that.
Lost Zone 2 energy.
Lost Zone 2
which
energy,
is really good, because now you're getting close to the 10.
Of course, and now he is on 9 now with those 2 discards, Water and Grass coming in, and just a Psychic left, but 2 prizes gained by Lucas.
Yeah, that's really good. And there's a second Giratina on the bench ready to go. When the Wash Energy came down, this started looking awkward for Lucas. So Lucas had to just rejig, think about it, and we got a new thing going on. One thing worth noting, both of these players are currently undefeated. They're both 8-0 and 4. They've had 4 ties. They've not actually had a single loss between them. We've seen a few ties on stream. I would like this to be the game where we actually see a result. I don't want one of the players to lose, but I don't want to see another tie for both of these players. I want someone to get a win here, go to 9-0-4. That is not a bad record 3 rounds into day 2.
Of course, 9-0-4 as well, meaning you just need one more win to guarantee yourself into top 8. That would take you to 31 points in total. And both these players are going to be seeking that out, especially not yet losing. They'd love to best the other player here. The Hisuian Heavy Ball looking at the prizes. Martin, not much there to be seen, but that knowledge is going to do him some good future on. That Oranguru is ready to be retreated with the air balloon here. And it looks like a concede here.
We do have a concession. Not 100% sure. I'm assuming it was probably Lucas seemed to have the better board state, but I'm not 100% sure. I mean, that seemed early for a concession.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have got confirmation Lucas did win. Okay, so we were right about that. Lucas did win. And essentially, it was what we were talking about. Lucas had 2 different routes to victory. It was either KO the 2 Kyurem or KO the Kyurem, gust up the Palkia, use Sableye on the Oranguru. And essentially, Martin just looked at the board and went, I am not going to be able to get enough KOs with my Kyurem and Palkia. Lucas's board is too well set up. It's slightly surprising to see a concession as early as there was, but there's absolutely a reason to do so. Martin's going, I've looked ahead, and it's what we've been talking about. It's not, I am going to concede when I'm impossible, when it's not even possible to win. It's, I'm going to concede when the chances of winning are low enough that I need to scoop to avoid a tie.
Yeah, that's correct. Martin probably looking here. He knows that a win puts him within touching distance of top 8. He doesn't want a draw here. 805 is not going to take him that far forward. He would still need to bubble into top 8 potentially then as well, not on the exact points you need, so he's looking to win this 2-1 and obviously giving himself as much time as possible to be able to do that.
It's always a good idea to try and make sure you've got that time. I mean, that was one of the least dramatic concessions I think I've ever seen. Usually there's a big KO and then one of the players goes, right, I'm out, or, you know, they flip a coin and it goes tails and then they're like, I'm out. Whereas it was just mid-turn, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm good, we're good.
Okay, we're good. I've seen all I need to see here. I don't really want the Giratina to take me to the lost zone right now, so I'm happy to stay here in my chair. So I'm going to concede now, and we'll set up for game 2. Now we see Lucas give a mulligan this time round, so that does mean that there will be an extra card drawn at the start of the turn. I imagine that Lucas will get a basic this time round, so 1 card, but you never want to give your opponent extra advantages on their first turn.
No, you really don't. If you mulligan too often, you give your opponent a bunch of extra cards. And, oh, now this is quite nice. There's 2 mulligans there.
2 mulligans.
So that means that Martin, yeah, he's going to have a couple of extra cards. Not prone to the explosive turns. Now, if you give Lost Box extra cards, they can go absolutely off turn 1. But this means that it's more likely that Martin's going to get a Battle VIP pass, more likely they're going to get all their basics down, more likely they're going to hit their Wash Energy. And I think it's fair to say Wash Energy is crucial in this matchup. Didn't help last game too much, but certainly without Wash Energy, without Wash Energy, I think that it's just so difficult for Martin. You know, I think Lucas without Wash Energy is just running away with this.
Yeah, I think it's really funny to note as well that there's only 1 VIP pass in Martin's deck, so those extra 2 cards could help him see that naturally, not having to grab it with the Irida as he usually does. There is small odds that he gets it, and we start off with a Palkia V. Looking at Giratina, all we're missing now is Dialga, and we've got the trio, but for now, it's going to be these 2 Titans facing off.
He's got it. He has got that single VIP pass in hand. Might not have been from the mulligan cards, but still, it's when you're playing, and especially going first, because the whole point of playing 1 is that you're going to search it with Irida. So it's not going to come naturally turn 1 often, and even when it does, half the time it's going to come naturally when you're going second and could have got it with Irida. Finding it naturally on turn 1 when you couldn't have got it with Irida is just such a bonus.
Yeah, it's beauty. He is going to be loving that, taking him straight forward, setting up that board that he needs so much, that Radiant Greninja. We see it so often in anything partnered with Palkia, discarding those energies, drawing extra cards, and he's going to love that. Just a quick look at the prizes again. Lucas this time is Radiant Greninja, a one-off as we discussed before in his prizes, his Lumineon V as well, so not access to grabbing quick supporter cards with that. And then looking at Martin's side, the Roxanne and the Crobat in there, 2 key cards that could draw him extra and of course try and disrupt Lucas in the late game.
And that Luminion's kind of interesting because we saw that the threat of Greninja has forced Lucas to play this game a little bit slower without going all the multiple comfy. One of the ways you still get your energy in the discard, or sorry, anything in the lost zone, while you're trying not to comfy too much, is making sure you have that Chorus's Experiment every turn. One of the best ways to make sure you've got it every turn, Luminion. So this could actually mean that Lucas is a bit slower getting those cards in the lost zone, because if you're not going much comfy and you whiff Chorus's Experiment, that could be relevant.
Yeah, Martin here, an energy now in the discard, attaching 1 by the looks of the Palkia. He's going to go for the Wash, opts for the Water. I think those Wash far better reserved for the Kyurems. They're the big threat to be taken down and just a pass over. Lucas now just a Giratina V to start, and he also hits the Battle VIP pass. Not perfect garbage this time, just perfect. The card that he wants to see on his first turn. Both players getting that and getting into this game. As we said, we love to see an even matchup. Both players getting the full potential out of the deck, and this is a good way to start.
Yeah, I love this start here from Lucas, getting that Battle VIP pass, going and getting any Pokemon you like. And now the question is, are you going to really go for those comfy? Of course, we know that Martin's gone straight for the Radiant Greninja, not use the V-Star power, has got some water energy in the discard. So I think if you're Lucas, the answer is no. Because it's not a question of, will Martin get Radiant Greninja and punish me if I bench too much Comfy? Martin will. The only way Martin doesn't punish a double Comfy with Radiant Greninja is if Martin's got an even more advantageous play, and that is not a good thing. So, I mean, we're just going to see single Comfy again. This is not how Lucas wants to play the game.
No, definitely not. I think that when it comes to Lucas, this decision will also be based off, does he have a chorus in hand? That's going to be the most important part. We saw him have a really slow turn one last time, obviously not being able to support her. See the two Comfy come down now. I feel like Lucas really needs to get to that 7, that magic number 7 that he loves so much to be able to play those Mirage Gates. He needs to take quick knockouts once again on those Curans, put the pressure out, and obviously that capture energy, grabbing Oranguru, an important card, being able to get him into the things he wants, make those flower selectings a little bit better, and not punish him as much. But I think that the overall goal of this turn is trying to activate Cramorant and maybe get an extra 110 damage down on the board.
Yeah, that would be fantastic, getting that down early doors. I mean, the thing about going for Comfy here is you can potentially scoop up net.
Yes,
but
of course.
But then you'll not scoop up then to reuse it. And one of the interesting things is if you've only got one Comfy down, it's not in Martin's best interest to go after it with Greninja. But if you probably put one Comfy down and you end the turn with one Comfy. If you put 2 down, then Martin's like, yay, I'm going after them with Greninja, and then you actually end up with none. Yeah,
that would be especially annoying, especially if you'd already star portaled in anticipation of that happening. We see one Flower Select, the Giratina V hitting the loss zone, but another one in hand already. A nice backup to that. You see the Cramorant considered. We're going to put that on the deck with Oranguru, as I said, and the Chorus's experiment off the top.
That was
big.
A
brilliant Primate Wisdom, hitting the supporter he wanted. I said how important this was, and now he's looking at all the cards he needs. Another Chorus in hand there, the Zigzagoon, an Energy, and of course a Boss's Orders. All brilliant cards in their own right, and Lucas needs to make the correct decision here.
Yeah, getting a Chorus's experiment off a Chorus's experiment is beautiful. You need to chain them. You don't have Luminion. And, that is awkward. Boss's Orders and Giratina V-Star. And I've said multiple times that you're going to end up lost owning good cards unless you don't have a good deck. But even bearing that in mind, those are rough cards to get in the lost zone because you've got 2 Giratina V on the bench. You want to V-Star them. I'm assuming there's 3 Giratina V-Star in the deck.
Indeed.
That's a standard. So that means that you've got to find exactly the 2 remaining. And then if Martin KOs both of them, what are your last 2 attackers? I suppose probably the 2 Comfy you've given up. So now Radiant Greninja is in the active here. We've seen another concealed cards. There are at least 2 energy in the discard and a wash energy in hand. So if we see Palkia V-Star, then Martin can get the double Comfy KO. It is just the Palkia V-Star we're missing. That is your Kyurem V Max. And we've got an Oranguru coming. Oh, I didn't even see what that was. Be nice, tell me what it was.
Yeah, the Primate Wisdom, hiding it from us a little bit there. Definitely putting down those ability markers. The Kyurem now using Glaciated World. He stacked that top deck. We said how important Oranguru is for both of these decks, but ever more so for Kyurem, being able to put the water energy on the top of your deck and then use Glaciated World to attach that water energy to any Pokemon that you like. And of course, in combination with Star Portal now, that Greninja is going to be rearing to go.
And we got Irida.
And that Irida, well, that only spells one thing, don't you think, Ross? I think we're going to see the V-Star here.
Yeah,
Star Portal activating that 2-prize turn on those Comphase, and that's going to be really big for Martin to pull ahead in this game.
Yeah, it's so awkward, and that's the thing. I mean, not to repeat myself, but if you put one Comfy down, it's not worth your opponent's time to go after it, so you actually get to keep it. Now Lucas is going to come into his turn with 0 Comfy out, and it's so hard, but I think what Lucas did in game 1, making sure that there was only one Comfy on the board, it meant that Lucas's deck was slower than normal, and that's not ideal, but it kind of said to Martin, mate, it's not worth it. Leave your Greninja there, just don't even worry about it. And that actually gave Lucas enough time to build up a board state that Martin scooped against very early on. It looks very different already.
Yeah, I think it's one of those awkward things where, you know, you want your Comfey. That Giratina needs those cards in the lost zone. It is an absolute must for this deck. You're not going to get any of those lost impacts off with it. However, as he keeps saying, those Comfey, it is food for that Greninja, being able to Moonlight Shuriken them. And it's too easy as well for Martin to do in this deck with that Star Portal, being able to access Greninja in just one ability. It's so easy to do, very consistent to do, and Palkia has absolutely no problem being able to get it done. As we can see here, it's only Martin's third turn, and he's able to get this off.
And there's always a possibility that next turn Martin could attach for turn, use Glaciator World on Kyurem and just do it again. And then this is a thing. Yes, getting 2 comfy last turn was good, but instead of having 1 comfy over 2 turns, you've got 2 comfy over 1 turn. You've not actually had any extra comfy. You've just given up 2 prizes. So here is the Greninja attack, exactly as we suspected. And that was pretty much inevitable. The second that second comfy hit the field, Martin was going, right, I'm after those comfies. It is on.
Of course, and I think now that Greninja is feeling comfy after taking both of those comfies. Great pun there.
Terrible, but I loved it.
Lucas is now, he's sort of reeling a little bit again. That Cramorant isn't even able to use its attack yet for free. That Chorus is going to give him the extra 2 cards he needs now, but no Comfey in field to continue to push that number up to 7. So these Giratina V-Stars just sitting and waiting, not able to do much yet. And of course, that Kyurem VMAX now, 2 energy on it already on the bench, and it's looking pretty tasty for Martin's next turn.
And interestingly enough, we see that Lucas here, he's hit a Giratina V-Star off of a Chorus's Experiment. He has to take it. There's 3 in the deck, 1's in the Lost Zone. There's no question here. It has to be that. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. And that's one of the awkward things about this deck. You get awkward situations. And what happens, you know, what if Lucas had seen double Giratina V-Star for comfy and been forced to Lost Zone 1? That would have been pretty much a game ender. Now, Lucas did win game 1, but we are coming down to the wire. We've got about 20 minutes remaining. We're in game 2. Are we going to end up with both these players taking their 5th tie? You can't just keep tying. Ties are worth 1 match point. Wins are worth 3. And we are literally just going to rank everyone by the number of match points, with opponents' win percentage being a tiebreaker for people on the same number of points. And we're going to draw a line under number 8. And that's going to be the top 8. There's no decision making here. It is literally race for the right number of points. And both of these players taking 1 more tie is not going to be a huge help here.
Yeah, you showing exactly what you said, coming to fruition. We see the Cramorant there, able to attack with that 5 in the Lost Zone, but another Comfey coming down, not able to move the Cramorant out, not worth moving the Cramorant out even to get that in, not able to get up to 7 this turn. So those Giratinas just sitting there like ducks, and this Kyurem now is going to be looking for that Gust to be able to KO that V-Star. It's already got 3 energy on it so far. Just 1 more needed to be able to take a 1-hit KO. Or the Band, that will do it. And this Kyurem now doing 300 damage with a discard of 3 energy. And I think Martin's in a very good position here if he can find the Gust.
Yeah, that's all. Well, and you need a pivot as well. Greninja, if I'm remembering correctly, has a retreat cost of 2. It's slightly awkward. Oh, it is a retreat cost of 1. Oh, then we've got the pivot. Then we can just straight retreat. A lot of sport Pokemon have a retreat cost of 2 as a little bit of a downside, but apparently Greninja's all good. There is the boss's orders. That's nice and easy. And this is absolutely huge. And in the same way we saw Martin concede game 1, I think we're getting to the stage where Lucas needs to think really seriously about conceding game 2. Yeah. You've lost your comfy. You've only got 5 cards in the Lost Zone. You're going to be going down 4 prizes to none. And this is getting to the stage now where I don't see how Lucas is responding. You've not even got Mirage Gate online yet.
I think a really intricate play here from the Kyurem, being able to use the switch on the Greninja instead of hard retreating, just to make sure that Greninja's still got the option to take any snipes late game to close it up. Of course, we know that Manaphy's not played, that Comfey is sitting there. All it would take is Lucas to put anything else down that Greninja can eat, and of course, he would be able to take the 2 prizes. It's just an alternative here, and the Kyurem takes 2 prizes from the Giratina. Lucas reeling here, really needs an answer, but of course, no wash energy on the Kyurem at the minute, having to discard it to do that 300 damage. So this is the opportunity for a Star Requiem to come out.
Yeah, and you've got to be working towards that. Was that another Comfy? Oh, it is another comfy. And Martin, oh, we see a head nod from Martin there. I'm sure that was Martin going, oh, cool. Nice comfy. Nice comfy you've got there. Because one of the reasons why you would keep an energy on Greninja is almost as a threat to your opponent. You keep the energy on the Greninja just to say, you know if you double comfy, I'm going to KO them, right? But I think it's again, it's all well and good saying, well, my opponent's probably going to get both my Comfy if I bench them. If you're going to lose, if you can't draw with Comfy, you might as well take the risk.
Yeah, I think here as well, there is a really cool thing that Lucas is doing. He could get both of his Comfys off, use the ability, but he has the Clap Stadium in hand. So if he was able to get down a threat that wasn't able to be KO'd by Greninja, put that down, Clap Stadium, get rid of one of the Comfys, making that null and void. But of course, just gusting the Greninja up, getting that second Cramorant hit into it. We have the 110 already there from the Spit Innocently, and just the second hit now, finishing that off, hopefully sending Greninja out of the game for the rest of the match.
Yeah, Lucas has no way to protect his Comfies here, so this is really simple. Martin needs 2 Water Energy, 1 to attach from hand, 1 to use Glaciated World. He does have the combo of Oranguru and Kyurem on board, so if he's got 2 Water Energy in hand, he can put one on top. He's got 1 in hand, he could put 1 on top of the deck with Kyurem, then use Glaciated World to attach it, and that would work very, very nicely indeed. You could blind Glaciated World, but that's very risky. Does look like he's instead put the Palkia active, and on the one hand, this is a safer way to go about doing it. On the other hand, time is a big factor here.
Yeah, time indeed a big factor. We said yesterday 20 minutes around the time that it takes to play out a full game if your opponent doesn't sort of dead draw and they're not out of the game very early. So Lucas needs to start thinking about whether he's got time
this
to do
will
that
work
from the
nicely.
boss.
Boss's orders on the Giratina V, and one thing we said about Palkia, not great at getting V-Stars, very good at getting Pokemon V. So we've currently got 8 bench Pokemon, that's 160, plus a 60 base of 220, that's already enough. And I know Martin's got an energy in hand. There we go. Martin is evening this up at 1 game each. And whereas Lucas had a very good comeback in game 1, really worked it nicely, that game 2 was never close. Martin was in control from the beginning.
Yeah, I think that Martin, as he said, from turn 1, really planted his post in the grass, did not let Lucas pass any boundaries he set up on his side of the board. Those Wash Energy coming integral again, those Giratina needing 3 energy. The Mirage Gate becomes so important for Giratina to be able to get off multiple attacks, meaning that number 7 in the Lost Zone. Hard to reach. You have to play the Comfey to get there. However, you're punished by Greninja by playing them. It's such a hard trap. I feel like Kyurem loves playing this deck. So many answers to be able to get around it, and forcing the Giratina player to have to play a little bit differently.
I think if I'm Lucas, I'm going back to game 1. I'm going single Comfy, and I'm winging it. It's the only way I think realistically you're going to win. Double Comfying is too awkward and not really going to pay off. That was the big swing point in game 2 there, was when that double Comfy came down, and Martin pounced on it immediately, taking that double prize. And Lucas had a slower start game 1, but he worked it through to the point where pretty much anything could go and be KO'd. So, yes, you might be a step slower, but single Comfy, I mean, Lucas gets to go first here. So, if you single Comfy, Flower Select turn 1, and then turn 2 Flower Select again, along with Chorus's Experiment, that's your 4 cards in the Lost Zone to get Cramorant on board. And then the turn after, you do the same thing. There's 7 for Mirage Gate. It's slower, but it will work.
Yeah, definitely. It's the exchange of what you think is more important, being able to get there quicker or get there safer. And at the end of the day, game 1 is the game that Lucas won, showing exactly what he needs to know is probably the right way to do it. Obviously, he has found a basic Pokemon first. This time, Martin giving him a mulligan, so hopefully those VIP passes finding their way into their hands. Lucas ready for game 3. Has enough time here to potentially take the win. Both players have time to take the win. But I think most importantly, it's the way this matchup's going to come out. Those early turns, so important, Ross. We've seen it a number of times now, that Greninja being able to activate these Palkia decks, these Kyurem decks so quickly. But of course, those Comfey and the choice that Lucas makes being absolutely key in this matchup.
I mean, we've seen decks go off turn 2 like all tournament. Giratina decks can do it, Lost Bots decks can do it, Palkia decks can do it, Kyurem decks can do it. You know, people were playing Zoroark because it was fast and consistent. Hisuian Zoroark, I just want to put that out there. With you, not with Freya. This is the thing for you. Notice how well they did yesterday?
I did.
I feel slightly vindicated, I'll be honest with you, Benji. They didn't, and I spoke to a few UK players that were playing Hisuian Zoroark, so I did have a chat with them about it. And essentially what they said was, it just didn't roll as much as they wanted. There were too many counters, too many hands that weren't in their favour. So we've actually seen that, yes, obviously Mew is a very fast, consistent deck, but the way the game works, the options we've got, especially with Pokemon Draw at the moment, most of these decks are fast, consistent decks.
Well, Ross, I will say I am unfortunately let down by Zoroark, but I did leave my crystal ball at home this weekend, so I didn't know exactly what was going to be in day 2. There is still one there carrying the torch for me, Luke Fisher bringing that into day 2, so I've got my fingers crossed that he brings me a little bit of hope back. But we have 3 mulligans here so far from Martin, 3 extra cards for Lucas. That's not want to give your opponent, especially when you're drawing 1-1. Lucas has a real opportunity now to capitalize on these extra cards.
Yeah, and I still do like the idea, if you're not going to be doing the full comfy switching, just using, using 2 or 3 and then using your scoop up net to protect them. Not to play them back down and use them again, but, getting a use.
4.
Oh, my goodness, that is a lot. Here's the thing, though. There does come a point where you kind of want your opponent to stop mulliganing because time is running out.
Time is running out indeed. Lucas wants the extra cards but doesn't want the extra time to be spent to get them. He's going to be eagerly awaiting to get this off. He looks like he's got quite a good hand as well. Chorus, the energy he needs. Obviously, he had a good start there as well. I think the Giratina V in the active once again. He might be able to Abyss Seeking on his second turn if Martin has a slow setup. It's looking good so far. And we see a Palkia V and a Kyurem in hand now. Either one of those going into the active. The Palkia there again. And we're going to have the Sinnoh legendaries looking each other down once again.
Yeah, that is the way this matchup is going. Sinnoh legendaries.
Terrible prizes for Martin as well. 3 water energy, a Kyurem, and a Kyurem VMAX. He does play the 3-3 line, but it is just very awkward with those extra water energy in there. And he starts the VIP pass again. I correct myself as well. It looks like Lucas chose to start the Cramorant here and not the Giratina V. But of course, we will be seeing that at some point, the main attacker in this deck. The VIP pass grabbing Greninja and Comfey. And once again, these turns looking to be exactly the same as they always are. Get them down, the capture energy on the Giratina, fill your board up, and start flower selecting.
Absolutely. I'm just having a quick look at Martin's deck list here. We've got 8 basic water energy. 3 of them are in the discard, so there's only 5 in the deck. But basic water is the only thing that can be accelerated with your Palkia V-Star power. The only thing that can be accelerated with Melanie. The only thing that can be... No, that's not strictly true. You can discard any of it with your Greninja, but then you want to get it back again, and it's got to be your basic. So your wash energy, there's 2 wash energy in the deck. That's really your attachment for the turn as protection. The deck really relies on playing with that energy. Having 3 of them prized is pretty big.
Yeah, energy, the name of the game, the Kyurem deck as well, discarding those to do the extra damage. And as you said, that Star Portal, a key part of everything Martin's trying to do. We see 2 flower selectings early off in this. An Ordinary Rod having to hit the loss zone. That could come trouble later on in the game. That little bit of recovery, perhaps for that Greninja, the Cramorant late game, and a Quick Ball. But as you said, Ross, look at this. The Comfey being used, scoop back into the hand, and Lucas chose not to play it back down this time.
Yeah, and I think that's got to be the way to do it. I'm not saying don't comfy. Comfy is huge. I'm saying don't leave too comfy on the bench because it's too awkward. Now, Martin is here using a Suian Heavy Ball to look at the prizes and getting the bad news. Yay, I get Kyurem, but Martin's just gone, wait, 3 of my 8 water energy are in the discard. In the prizes. That's 60% of my energy. Is that right? 3 out of...
Yes.
Yeah, I think that is right.
Close to, yeah. Well... 30%.
It's not exactly.
30%.
It's almost half.
Almost half.
It's definitely not 60%.
Maths
Look,
is not my strong
it's been
point.
a long weekend. I've been doing a lot of maths. The point is 3 out of 8 is a lot. It's just a little bit less than half. So, you know what? It's still a significant amount of energy, and it is going to really limit the options here. And that's something which we just don't want to see. Right, okay. It is 37.5%. There we go, 3 times 12.5%, because 1/8 is 12.5%. I taught maths for a few years. I need to be able to do basic sums.
There we go. And Martin's turn, not the best here. Just an attachment of 2 Kyurems on the bench. We go over to Lucas, and he has continued to fly forward. This Chorus coming down, getting 2 more. That takes him up to 5 already on this second turn. Obviously, that flower selecting there as well. Will he put down the other Comfey? Will he want to get to 7 this turn and try and pull ahead with that Giratina? Only needing 2 more energy to be able to attack. His hand huge at the minute. So many options in there, and there we go.
Drawing 2 more with concealed cards.
Concealed card. Just when the hand went down, I was like, wait, did he attach an energy or did he discard it? And I couldn't see it on the Giratina. But there we go, the concealed card. Getting that hand even bigger now as well. And that Giratina just looking for another energy build to attack, but I think the Cramorant will be jumping in here for 110 damage on that Palkia.
Yeah, and this is very, very different. This is more like Game 1 than it was Game 2. And I think Lucas learned in Game 2 that as much as you might want double comfy, it is not something you can rely on. It is too much of a risk. And actually, Lucas knows if he can set up a couple of Giratina, poke a bit of energy around the field, that is going to make a huge difference. And as we said back in Game 1, that 110 from the Cramorant, some matchups it's relevant, some matchups it's not. Getting 110 on the Kyurem V, hugely relevant, because it now brings Kyurem into range of Giratina.
Oh, and Martin, just an attach and pass just to that Palkia on the bench as well. And I think one of the really important things to note as well is Lucas has the Chorus in hand as well, which will take him straight up to that 7. Meaning Mirage Gate will be active by the end of this turn if he chooses to do that. The V-Star coming down and the knockout from Cramorant, that 1 prize, taking a huge 2 prize knockout, and Martin's board not looking delightful.
It is not looking delightful, and yeah, we haven't seen it much on stream this weekend, but we have seen it a few times. If you can poke for 110 on a Pokemon V with Cramorant, then will 2-hit KO pretty much any, well, at least relevant Pokemon V around at the moment. There are a few that are a bit higher, but if your opponent doesn't get out the active and doesn't have anything, you're getting a 2-prize KO with Cramorant? Oh my goodness. And now, yeah, Lucas seems to have this sewn up at this stage. There's 2 important things going on. Firstly, this Giratina will be getting a KO on this Palkia in the active for another 2 prizes. Secondly, there is a Giratina V on the bench. There's Mirage Gate already, so Mirage Gate will get that 2 energy. If Lucas gets a Giratina V Star to have a backup attacker rolling, that's basically game.
Yeah, I think the train has already left the station here for Martin in this game. Such a slow start, and we've talked so much Ross in this game. Both these decks hitting for high damage. You cannot give them a chance unchecked. This Giratina going to hit for 280, getting rid of this Palkia, and Martin's hand does not look like he has anything that he can play down to do anything about it. And Lucas already goes down to 2 prizes left in this game, and of course that Losso now up to 9. That Star Requiem is active.
Yeah, I think it's up to 11 with those 2.
No, 9 as in +1. And then it's a skill.
Yeah, there we go. And we do see the win there for Lucas, 2 games to 1. And that was very decisive. Bit of bad luck from Martin there, taking his first loss of the tournament. But when you get a setup like that with Giratina, you're going to win a lot more often than you're going to lose.
Yeah, I think that these were the merits of the deck that people were talking about before the set came out. I think that Giratina offers that incredible attacking power, of course, but also it's got that consistent setup. Using those Comphase, using those Chorus, hand-picking what you it's not quite Inteleon, but it's almost there, and being able to get the consistent setup that you want every single time. But I think one of the really important things to note as well is we were talking about how big Star Requiem could be in that matchup without the Wash Energy around. Lucas not even having to use it.
No, didn't need it. Hitting 280 is one of the things that makes Giratina so good. There's key numbers in the game. At the moment, the 2 key numbers really are 220 to KO Pokemon V and 280 to KO Pokemon V Star. It's why Cramorant hitting 110 is so good, because if you get a second hit, and you don't that often, but if you get a second hit, that's a 2-prize KO. It's one of the reasons Radiant Charizard is so good, because with a choice bout, you're hitting 280. And it's one of the reasons Giratina is so good. And that was just Game 2. I think Game 2, Lucas got a little bit, tried to overextend a little bit, tried to rush a little bit, played the second comfy, tried to see if it would work. It did not work. Game 3, far more measured, not playing that second comfy without Scoop Up netting it back, and a very, very well-played game there that just ran away from his opponent.
Yeah, I really love the fact that Lucas obviously went with Game 1. Game 1 ended sort of weirdly. Maybe Lucas felt that, the scoop really didn't warrant. I don't know. I didn't feel like my setup warranted the concede there. So maybe tried to go for something a little bit different Game 2. But as he said, learned from it, realized this probably isn't the way to go, and quickly adjusted for that Game 3 and was able to come out on top.
It went pretty well in the end. Well, we do have an interview with our winner, so don't go very far, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be back in a couple of moments with an interview with our winner. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. I am here with Lucas, who's just won a very big game on stream. That was an awkward matchup. How did you find it?
I think the matchup is really hard to me because Kieran can use the special water energy, and I can one hit kill with my V-Star, so I have to play wrong because I have to play around this. I have to try to attack with Sableye or Cramorant, and I only play one Cramorant, so sometimes it's hard to fight this Pokemon. And it's not easy, but we can do some things.
Yeah, well, it worked. You won 2 games out of 3. How annoying is it to not really be able to play too comfy because of Greninja?
Actually, all the tournaments, I think I never played too comfy in turn 1.
Really?
Most of my games, I say my opponent to start because I want to try colors almost. So it's normal.
I mean, it's working. You've not lost yet, have you? You're 9-0-4.
I start 0-0-3.
That's amazing. So since you started 0-0-3, you've since gone 9-0-1 in your last 10 rounds. You must be feeling very confident right now.
Yeah.
Your deck can be anything.
Now I'm very comfortable in my position.
Is there anything you're worried about? Any decks you're scared of now?
Maybe Lost Box, the baby Pokemons.
Yeah, this little Pokemon can be quite annoying. Well, congratulations. That was a wonderful game. That was really fun to watch. Good luck for the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back very shortly indeed with more Pokemon action. So grab yourselves a nice cold beverage. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.